road rage is also the absence of courtesy and patience.
Yeah.
Right. The helmet removing thing was why I triggered it was that it reminds you that there's a person. Right. In a car, it's at times hard to see the person.
Yeah.
Right. So I always try to look for who's driving.
This is also scientifically documented.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So like when you look at the person, how you think about that thing otherwise changes.
Yeah.
You suddenly have more consideration.
Yeah.
And I took it a step further because like my dad's elder brother, Kishan Baba, I'm very fond of him. And but he's not a great driver, right? So anytime I see, an older person driving poorly, I'll just be like, Kishan Baba, Kishan Baba, Kishan Baba. Like, imagine it's Kishan Baba and treat him accordingly, right? And if you see, the cliche of women drivers not being, I'm like, okay, we've got women drivers in our household. They're not the best of drivers. They are different in the way that they think and process. Give them that leeway. So you just understanding that we are all humans and that person that you're dealing, that other party is also human at a very basic level. If we just kind of find mechanisms to remind ourselves of that.
No, and there's a very good point in there. So there's a book called Traffic, which I think I've referred to on the previous season of the podcast also, which talks about why we behave in traffic like the things that we do. And one of the earliest chapters is how a car dehumanizes you. And it is very easy to get angry with what you think is inanimate, but it's much harder to cause harm and think harmful of another human being for the average human being, psychopaths, sociopaths, etc. Right? So the fact that you can't identify the guy operating the vehicle as a human natively is part of why road rage escalates so hard. You know how you'd avoid that? Wave a lot of thank yous in traffic. When somebody slows down and gives you the lane space in front of them, and whether they're doing it because they're intimidated by you, whether they're doing it because they're scared of the noise your bike makes, doesn't matter. Occupy that lane politely and then put up your hand and say, thank you so much for that.
Oh God, that's such a brilliant example about this. Again, I think we've spoken about this in the past. Like for media rights, we've been to Thailand and specifically Ducati, I remember. So Ducati has that factory in Thailand where, so we did a lot of media rides in Thailand at one point. And they would have a Ducati rider, of course, in the back.
Pilots.
Yeah. Then they would have a cop on a motorcycle who would be the lead. There would be two such riders. One would be a lead, one would be a sweep, and they'd work beautifully together. The most incredible part about that experience, if you remember, was not that they were fantastic riders or that they were, just helpful and all of that. But when they were clearing traffic and we were riding fast, like we would be riding at 90, 100 kilometers an hour on what we would call as state highways with other vehicles also on that road. Those guys would be waving the traffic out of our way, but they weren't doing it with, what shall I say?
Yeah, I have authority and you must follow.
Yeah, right? They would stand up on their motorcycles. They would wave to them that please move aside. And immediately, this was like the rhythm. They would stand up, wave people out of the way, and then bow down to them. With one hand, they would do a namaste, bow down to them and say khapun khap. Right? It was standard. And everybody who passed us did not begrudge us this privilege that we were being given. So yeah, absolutely. Waving, just saying thanks to somebody who may be there, or just waving to somebody to say, hey, can you wait? Can I just go through? It works.
It's a very powerful gesture. The gesture of saying, I have time, why don't you go first? Or, can I go first? Both gestures are really powerful gestures. And I'm telling you, you can do 99% by nodding your head at the right time.
Correct.
Right? So, gestures, waving, all of this is very important because it makes you human. Right? I have almost never passed a truck on the highway without waving a thank you or a hello. And it's really important for me to remind them that there are good motorcycles out there and good motorcyclists out there who value the work that they do. And being a trucker is not easy work in India.
Hey, if this is your first time watching something to do with MotorInc, then our recommendation is don't trust us. Not right now. Head on over to the main MotorInc channel. Check out what all we've spoken about and whether it vibes with you. We hope we'll see you there.